Hi, my name is Sarah White and I'm making this video because I would like to get a message across to any one parent families who are going through the homeless process, and I would just like to forewarn you about what you are about to go through or what you're going through, because it's pretty horrendous, and individuals who have been going through the system have committed suicide and taken their own lives, which is it just shows how bad things can get. But I'm hoping that if I can warn you about it, hopefully, because you know what you're facing, it'll be easier for you. So the first thing is that when you apply for help with Cornwall Council for being homeless, you won't get any help. You'll be lucky if you get a phone call back. You will be very, very stressed about trying to find somewhere else to live. The first time that I went through the homelessness with the council, I was fortunate enough to be helped by the homelessness prevention team, and they basically just gave me all my options and gave me lots of support, and I found somewhere else to live through them. So that was what I was expecting the second time around, but it never happened. So I phoned the homelessness prevention team and I didn't hear anything back, and then I had 4 weeks to move out and find somewhere else to live, and with each passing day you're just getting closer and closer to the deadline and thinking, where am I going to live with my children? And the stress levels are rising, and the anxiety is rising, and the panic is rising, and your children will start playing up because they feed off your energy, and it's very, very stressful. And if you go into the council, they won't help you. They will tell you that they will phone the person you're trying to contact, and every single time they will never, ever, ever get through. It's a bit of a joke. They just sit there on the phone and say that all day. I'll try and put you through, but I'm not sure. If they don't pick up, then they're obviously busy, but they will never, ever pick up. I think every single time that I phoned them, nobody ever picked up. So it's completely normal for them not to pick up. So be expecting that. All of the benefits that you will be applying for help to move out, help with moving costs, you will not be able to get either. You won't be able to get a social fund loan, which would help you if you have worked 1 day in the past 6 months. Apparently the government want us to work, and so if we work, if you find yourself in this situation, you will then be punished for working. So that's about £850, I think. That would help with moving costs that you will not be able to get hold of. Any other benefits that you apply for to help you with the move, you probably won't get either. So you have a month and the weeks are going, so you have 4 weeks. and then you hear nothing from the council, then you have 3 weeks, and then you have 2 weeks, and then your landlord wants you out, so the stress levels are rising, and you don't know what's happening, and you're waiting for support from the council and the housing team, and they call you in for an appointment, and you see them face to face, and because you're so stressed, you're just crying all the way through the interview, and then you just kind of think, well, this must be what they see every single day, and they don't really care, and it's not their job to help you. So then you go home, and then you're trying really hard to find somewhere else to live within the budget of the housing benefit. And if you can't find anywhere, because basically as soon as somewhere becomes available, it vanishes because everybody's looking for somewhere to live. And if you can't find anywhere to live, then what happens next is that you will be evicted, because the council will not help you, even if you apply for homelessness and support with being homeless, because you're within 28 days of being homeless with your children. They will not help you until the bailiffs basically come and kick you out. You will have to pay £350 for your own eviction, and that will be taken out by your landlord, and you will have to pay them back if you want to see your deposit. So you won't be able to apply for funding for help with the move, because you don't know when you're going to move, and if you don't have a date for the move, then you can't get any money. So some people will basically be in a situation where they will have to just walk out of their house, because if you don't have any support from family, if you don't have any support from friends who can lend you money or help you with the move or store all your stuff from your house, then you're going to be in a real predicament. So when the bailiffs are just about to come and you've had your eviction notice, that's when the council phoned me and said that they had somewhere for me to stay, me and my children. So I thought, okay, that's all right, out of the flat, but I have somewhere to stay with my children, so we're going to have a roof over our heads and it's going to be okay. So I was expecting to be put into temporary accommodation, like a long-term bed and breakfast, but instead we were put into a hotel, which was very, very posh and was not what I was expecting at all. So we stayed at the hotel, and then we stayed at another hotel, and then we stayed at another hotel, and then we stayed at another hotel. And in between staying at hotels with children, you have nowhere to wash your clothes, and you also have nowhere to prepare food. So if you spend all your money excuse me, so if you spend all of your money on the eviction, and you spend the rest of your money on the house move and maybe storing your possessions, you will now have no money left. So you won't have any money to eat out or buy food for your children, and your children will still be children, and they will still want to do stuff, and they'll still want everything in the shop, and it's very, very difficult to be a parent in that position where you are so stressed that you don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going to be the next day. Some of the bookings in the hotel will be made by the people who made them on the council, and you won't know what their name is, so you won't know that that booking is yours. And if you turn up at 10 o'clock at night and then the really helpful people at the hotel try for an hour to find your booking, they won't be able to find it, especially not under your name. So the children will be ratty and tired, and you will have been told that you have a booking, but the booking won't be in your name. So it's very, very exhausting all the way through, and moving from hotel to hotel and not knowing where you're going to be staying, and phoning the council to ask them where you're going to be staying, and then waiting for them to phone you back is just not a very nice process. And you have to be out of the hotel at booking out time, which can be different for different hotels. So some places it will be 10 o'clock, some places it will be 12, and then you just have to, I don't know where you're expected to go, just hang around in the streets, I suppose, sit on a park bench, don't know, sit in a park, sit in a library, until you get that phone call that tells you where you and your children are going to be staying the next night. So it's very nice to stay in hotels. I've never stayed in so many hotels in my life before, because can't afford to, basically. I like camping, but it's a process that means that you can't be a very good parent, because you're so stressed that you're just taking it minute by minute and trying to keep it together to look after your children the best that you can. But under those circumstances, it's very, very difficult. And when you phone the council and ask them where you're going to be staying that night with your children, in the back of your mind you're thinking, it's going to be okay, because whatever happens, it's the council's responsibility to look after me because I have children, and they will look after me because it's the law. Well, just because it's the law doesn't mean they're going to do it, because I phoned them and asked them where I was going to be staying that night, and they said that they would phone me back, and they didn't. They just didn't bother, even though they're legally obliged to phone me back and for me and my children to be placed somewhere, because legally I'm in their care. They just didn't place me anywhere. And I think that was definitely the lowest point of being within the system and homeless with children, because in the back of my mind I saw that as concrete, really, that whatever happens they will look after me and my children. But when they don't, it's a bit of a shock, and I just went into shock, really. And they didn't place us that night, and they didn't place us the next night either. So as far as they're concerned, where were we sleeping? Where were we staying? Where were my children sleeping? And then you kind of realise how people end up committing suicide, because I'm lucky that I have friends and I have family who look after me, and I found a floor to sleep on, and my children went off and they found floors to sleep on as well. But that's not the point. If the council are legally responsible for you and your children and your welfare, how are they able to treat me and my children the way that they did? They can treat me and my children the way that they did because nobody will ever find out, because nobody will ever know, because who is ever going to care about what happens to a single parent and her children going through the homeless system in Cornwall with Cornwall Council? Because as long as Cornwall Council are saving money, they are making money. And if they are saving money by not looking after me and my children, then they are making money for themselves. And me and my children are not a priority. Making money is their priority. So that's where their priorities lie. Their priorities lie with making money, not with housing families. So if they can make the system so horrible, so horrendous, so stressful that you will get to a point that you will just take your own life, then that would be cheaper. And that's what's encouraged. And that's what happens. And I'm making this video because I'm hoping that maybe somebody will see this and I might help somebody. Or you might have a friend who's going through the homeless system with Cornwall Council who has and they have children, and you may not really understand what they're going through, and I'm hoping to give you a little insight into what they're doing, into what they're facing, because they desperately will need your help with everything, and if you can help them, it will make a massive difference, and a huge difference. So after staying in all the hotels, we then were put in a homeless hostel, and I was in a real state when we got to the homeless hostel because I was just mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted and just exasperated and devastated, and I don't know how many other words there are for traumatized. But at the homeless hostel, the people that worked there really looked after us, but the hostel was not safe. So then again, you're in another situation with children which is completely inappropriate. The hostel doors, the fire doors were all left open, and members of the public just walked in and out whenever they felt like it. We had a shared bathroom, so when my children were using the loo in the middle of the night, the outside door was open and anyone could just walk in. And my children, if they wanted to use the shower, the same. The outside door was open to the building and anybody could walk in. Literally anybody could go and walk in. I could go to the hostel now and the door would be open, and I would guarantee I could walk in and do anything I wanted and go anywhere I wanted within the hostel. Absolutely not safe for children, any child. So then you're in a situation where you're staying in a hostel with your children and it's not safe. And if you don't have any choice, you're basically having to live through abusing your children, because with them not being safe is abuse. And you're having to live with that every day. And I ended up going to stand outside the toilet whenever my girls went to the loo, and go and stand outside the shower room whenever my girls went for a shower, so that they would feel a little bit safe. And when we got our housing association house, we moved in here, and I was given the keys, and it was the end of a really, really horrendous chapter in our lives. But then, after we got our keys, when we moved in, we then saw how much it cost to stay at all the hotels. Now this is really, really important bit. If you've maybe been half listening throughout the rest of my speech, this is the point where you need to listen. And if you have friends who are going through the homeless system with children, this is the part that you will need to relate to them the most. If you don't remember anything else, please just remember this. When you are claiming housing benefit for where you're living, when you then go into the homeless system and they put you in temporary accommodation, you need to phone up the council, the housing benefit department, and you need to change the use or change the purpose. I'm not sure what the exact wording is, but anyone in the system will know it. A social worker or someone within the council, or anyone who can help you find out what the wording is so that you can get your housing benefit changed from where you were living to then cover the cost of the hotels, because you will take it for granted that the council are covering the costs of the hotels and are sorting out the hotel accommodation for you. They're not. They are absolutely not. They are sorting out the hotels for you, but if you don't change over the use and the purpose of your housing benefit, you will then be given a bill for every single hotel that you have stayed in while you've been in the homelessness system. So if you have been homeless for a week, or if you've been homeless for 6 weeks, if you've stayed in 100 different hotels, you will be given a bill for that. You will be given the entire bill for that if you are not claiming housing benefit for that purpose. So when you go into a homeless hostel, and then when you go into a homeless hostel, you will be given a bill for the hotels that you have been staying in with your children, and it's obviously going to be thousands of pounds because hotels are expensive, and you will not be able to bid on any houses until you have paid that money back. So that is key. Please, please, please change the use and the purpose of your housing benefit. If you phone up housing benefit and say that you're now homeless, they will tell you that you have to reclaim, which will take 6 weeks, which you will probably lose the paperwork, or they will lose you in the system. And this is the way that it is designed, because they want you to have that bill at the end of the day, because it costs them nothing to put you in a hotel that you are going to pay for. So I hope that you have found this helpful. I really, really would like to think that in making this video I might have helped somebody, even if it's just one person, it'll be worth it.